Welcome, sleepy soul. I'm your storyteller tonight, here to help you drift into deep, peaceful sleep. Before we begin, don't forget to like the video and subscribe for more bedtime stories. Let me know in the comments where you're watching from and what time it is. And if there's a story you'd like to hear next, I'd love to know that too. I still remember the way her eyes would linger a bit too long when she was angry. The way her jaw would tighten like she was holding something back. Not tears, not words, something darker. We dated for just over a month. Her name was Kira. She was beautiful, no denying that. Sharp cheekbones, wide brown eyes, short dyed blue hair she constantly tucked behind her ears. I met her through a coworker who thought we'd be a good match. At first, we were. The first couple of weeks were fun. We'd go for late-night drives, watch horror movies, and take long walks in Pinebrook Park, a wooded area near the edge of town. It had a small pond, some picnic tables, and barely any lighting at night. I liked it for its peace. She liked it for the shadows. But Kira had a temper. Little things would set her off. One time, I was 10 minutes late to dinner, and she went completely silent for the rest of the night. Another time, I laughed at a joke someone else made about horoscopes and she stormed off mid-date. I tried to be patient. I really did. But by week 4, I was exhausted. She'd accused me of hiding things when I went to visit my mom. Accused me of changing because I didn't respond to her texts fast enough. I started pulling back emotionally just to protect myself. Eventually she said, "Maybe this isn't working." I agreed. And that was that. Or so I thought. 2.5 weeks later, on a quiet Tuesday evening, I got a text from her. Kira. "Hey, I know this is random, but I really need to talk to you. Can you meet me at Pinebrook Park? 10 p.m., please." I stared at the message. The easy answer would have been no, but I'm not the kind of person who leaves things unresolved, and part of me wanted to know what she had to say. Maybe she needed closure. Maybe I did too. Besides, it wasn't like I was scared of her. Kira could be dramatic, but I never thought she was dangerous. I texted back, "Me. Okay, I'll be there." At 9:45 p.m., I left my house, walking the short distance to Pinebrook Park. The air was warm, the kind of summer night where everything feels still. Crickets chirped in the distance and the trees swayed in a light breeze. By 10 p.m. sharp, I arrived and texted her, "Me. I'm here. Where are you?" A moment later, she responded, "Kira. Go to the picnic table near the woods, you know the one." That part of the park was always a little darker. The woods made it cooler, quieter, almost too quiet sometimes. But I knew the spot well. We used to sit there for hours talking. I made my way there, the gravel crunching beneath my sneakers. The moon wasn't full, but it was enough to see by. The path curved and opened into a clearing with a single table, half covered in leaves. "Kira?" I called out. No answer. I stepped closer. "Kira?" Still nothing. I reached for my phone to call her. That's when I heard it. The rustling, coming from the trees behind me. Not the light flutter of leaves in the wind. Heavy movement, footsteps. I turned around. A man stepped out of the woods. He was huge. Had to be at least 6'5", wearing dark clothing and a ski mask. He didn't say anything. Just started walking toward me. "Hey, what the hell?" I backed away. "I don't know what this is, but..." He charged. I turned and ran, gravel flying under my feet. I barely got 10 steps before he tackled me from behind. The impact knocked the air from my lungs. My cheek scraped the dirt. "Help!" I yelled, but the sound was muffled by his gloved hand clamping over my mouth. He started punching me, hard, fast. I tried to fight back, but he was too strong. My ribs throbbed, my vision blurred. "Don't move," he said in a deep voice, calm like he'd done this before. He took my wallet, my phone, and my keys. Then, as if that wasn't enough, he slammed my head once into the ground, then ran, disappearing back into the trees. I laid there stunned, blood in my mouth, gravel pressed into my palms. I wasn't unconscious, but I wanted to be. Eventually, I forced myself up. Stumbling back toward the road, I realized I couldn't even get into my house. My keys were gone. No phone to call anyone. My ribs felt bruised. I limped 2 blocks and banged on my neighbor's door, a guy named Ethan, who opened it in a panic. "Jesus," he said, "what happened to you?" I told him everything in fragments while he called the police. The cops arrived about 20 minutes later. They were professional but skeptical, until I mentioned Kira. They asked me to forward the texts. Ethan helped pull up the messages through his phone using my cloud backup. "She lured you there?" the officer said. "Intentionally?" "It seems like it," I said. "She picked the location, disappeared. Then this guy shows up." They nodded, scribbling in their notebooks. "Do you have any reason to believe she might have done this before?" "No," I said. "But she's not mentally stable. She always had this temper, and she didn't take the breakup well." 3 days later, they arrested both Kira and the man. Turns out his name was Trevor Hensley. He was Kira's ex, a guy she claimed had left the state long ago. But he hadn't. He was very much still in town, and still very much in her life. The cops pieced it together. Kira had convinced Trevor I had used her, broken her heart, lied to her face. Whatever she told him, it was enough to make him agree to attack me. She lured me to the park. He waited in the trees. The rest played out exactly how they planned. Kira admitted to some of it, claimed it was just supposed to be a scare tactic. Said Trevor took it too far. But she never apologized. Not once. I never got my phone or wallet or keys back. They dumped them somewhere, they said. Lost. Replaced easily enough. But the trust? That was another matter. I changed the locks, got security cameras, stopped going for walks at night. For weeks, I jumped at every sound outside my window. The part that haunts me the most isn't the tackle or the punches or even the moment I saw the mask. It's how calm her message was. "Please, I really need to talk to you." Like she cared. Like she didn't know I'd be bleeding on the ground 10 minutes later. I've been on a few dates since then. But I don't walk to parks at night anymore. And I don't answer messages from exes after dark. Once trust is broken that badly, even sunlight feels suspicious. And that's something no lock, no cop, and no apology can ever fix. In the beginning, I didn't think much of it. Just a few calls, a text here and there. Nothing too out of the ordinary for a breakup. But I should have known better. My name is Derek Lyman, and I live in a quiet suburb outside Dayton, Ohio. I work at a small software firm, mostly remote, but I head into the office 3 days a week. Nothing flashy. Just enough to pay the bills, keep my little rented house, and stay out of the way. I met Kara through a mutual friend. My buddy Rob's girlfriend, actually. They'd gone to the same community college. Kara was charming at first. She had this laugh that made everyone in the room turn their head. She was beautiful. Green eyes, always done-up hair, always dressed like she was going somewhere important. It was a little intoxicating. I think I was just flattered that someone like her wanted anything to do with someone like me. We started dating casually. Dinner here, movie there, sleepovers on weekends. Nothing too serious. But that's where the problems began. Kara didn't do casual. She expected good morning texts by 7 a.m. No exceptions. If I took longer than 10 minutes to respond during work hours, she'd spam my phone. "Are you okay?" Logically, "What's going on?" Logically, "Are you ignoring me?" Until I replied. The worst of it was when she'd just show up at my place uninvited and claim she missed me. I tried to set boundaries gently at first, but Kara had a way of making me feel guilty for even asking. If I said I needed space, she'd cry. If I said I didn't want to hang out that night, she'd accuse me of talking to someone else. I know some people reading this might think, "Why didn't you just leave?" I did. It was in late June 2023 when I finally broke it off. I told her over dinner, at her favorite Thai spot, hoping the public setting would keep things from escalating. To my surprise, she barely reacted, just nodded and said, "Okay, if that's what you want." She even hugged me goodbye. I remember thinking, that went way better than expected. I had no idea how wrong I was. The first few texts came that same night. I miss you. You'll come back. You just need time. I love you. I didn't respond. The calls started the next day. 1 or 2 at first, then 5, then 12. I picked up once and she started crying immediately, begging me to come over and fix this. I told her it was over and I needed space. I can't do this without you, she said. I hung up. By the end of July, I had blocked her on everything: phone, socials, email. I told Rob what was going on, and even he seemed surprised by how intense it had gotten. He promised to talk to his girlfriend and see if she could help Kara move on. Things went quiet for a while. Too quiet. August 2nd, 2023. I came home from work, put my bag down, and saw glass shimmering across the floor in my front hallway. At first, I thought my cat had knocked over a lamp or something. Then I looked up. My front window was shattered. Not cracked, not chipped. Shattered, like something heavy had been thrown through it. My stomach dropped. I froze for a second. Everything in me screamed, "Get out of the house." But I also couldn't ignore the possibility that someone might still be inside. I grabbed the small bat I kept by the door and checked every room, heart pounding like a war drum. Nothing. No signs of forced entry other than the window. No drawers rifled through. TV still there. Laptop still on the coffee table. Nothing was stolen. Just the window. I filed a police report. They couldn't do much without a suspect, but they documented the damage and advised me to install cameras. "I'll take care of it," I said, more embarrassed than scared. But inside, I had a sinking feeling. August 11th. My alarm didn't go off. Not because I forgot to set it, because I woke up to a flat tire. Correction. 4 flat tires. Every one of them slashed. Now it wasn't just unnerving, it was personal. I didn't want to believe Kara could go this far, but who else could it be? I'd never had any other enemies, no bad breakups, no arguments with neighbors. I unblocked her number and texted, "I know what you did. Stay away from me." No response. I sent another, "You're going to get arrested. I've already told the cops." Still nothing. I didn't sleep well that night. By the time August 17th rolled around, I had cameras installed, motion lights up, and a stronger deadbolt on the front door. I tried to pretend life was normal, but I was always on edge. I jumped at every bump in the night, slept with my phone under my pillow, kept the bat closer than ever. At 3:18 a.m., I was jolted awake by the sound of shattering glass. Again. This time I didn't hesitate. I ran out of the bedroom, flipped the hall light on, and saw the back window above the kitchen sink completely destroyed. Glass everywhere, curtains fluttering in the breeze. I didn't even grab the bat this time. I bolted outside, scanning the yard. Nothing. Just shadows and my own breath clouding the air. I called the police. Again. They arrived 10 minutes later, 2 officers, Officer Wilkins and Officer Mendez. They asked the same questions. I told them everything. Again. This time I begged them to check the house themselves. I told them I was done playing guessing games. So they did. They moved through every room, every closet, every crawl space. And then Officer Mendez said, "What's down here?" He pointed to the door leading to the basement. I felt a weird tightness in my chest. "It's just storage," I said, barely above a whisper. I didn't hear anything from down there." They went down. A full 5 minutes passed. Then I heard Wilkins call out, "Sir, we need you to come here." My legs felt like jelly. I descended the steps slowly. Halfway down, I saw Mendez standing off to the side with his flashlight aimed at the far wall. Wilkins had Kara in cuffs. She was sitting on an overturned bucket, hands behind her back, hair in a messy bun, face pale, mascara smeared down her cheeks. She didn't say a word. They asked me if I wanted to press charges. I said yes. She had broken into my home, damaged my property, and stalked me for weeks. I wasn't sure what she planned to do that night, but the fact that she had returned, inside my home, after all that, made it clear that things were only going to escalate. They found a key in her purse, a copy of my house key. I still don't know how she got it. Later, I learned from Rob that she had been spiraling. Her mom was worried. She'd stopped going to her job, stopped showering, obsessed over old photos of us, told her friends we were still working things out. I wish someone had warned me sooner. Kara was eventually put on probation and court-mandated therapy. I moved, changed jobs, got a new number, even switched to a P.O. box for all my mail. It's been almost a year now. Every time I hear a window creak or my motion light turns on, my chest tightens. I sleep light. I double-check my locks. Sometimes I wake up thinking I heard her laugh. Other times I wake up from dreams of the basement. There's nothing romantic about obsession. There's nothing sweet about not letting go. Love doesn't shatter your windows. Love doesn't hide in your basement at 3 a.m. Sometimes silence doesn't mean they've moved on. Sometimes it means they're watching. And sometimes they're already inside. I never imagined I'd be telling anyone this story. Not because it was a secret, but because it still doesn't make sense, even to me. And if it doesn't make sense to me, how can I explain it to someone else? But I need to try. I need to get it out. Not for sympathy. Just clarity. It started 2 years ago when I was living in Leeds. I'd just landed a new job with a marketing firm, finally moved out of my shared student flat, and was adjusting to the slow crawl into proper adulthood. Bills, commute, grocery lists, the usual. That's when I met Maya. We met the way most people do these days, on an app. Her profile was simple, a few pictures, dark, wavy hair, black hoodie, book in hand, messy bun. She looked casual, comfortable with herself. Her bio read, true crime addict, night owl, coffee snob. Be interesting or be ignored. We matched, chatted, and decided to meet for drinks. She picked the place, the Royal Park pub near Hyde Park. Her texts were witty, her banter sharp, and in person, she was just the same, charming, sarcastic, with a dry sense of humor that caught me off guard more than once. We hit it off. We dated for about 5 months. It wasn't serious, not in the meet the parents kind of way, but it wasn't casual either. We spent weekends together, had inside jokes, sent each other memes and stupid voice notes in the middle of the night. She could be intense, sure, but I chalked that up to passion. She didn't like being ignored. And if I didn't text her back fast enough, I'd get passive-aggressive messages like, "Guess you died, R.I.P., let me know when the funeral is." It was funny the first few times. Then it wasn't. Eventually, the relationship started to fizzle. She was too possessive. I started to pull away. The breakup wasn't messy. In fact, it was the calmest conversation we'd ever had. We met at a Costa near the University of Leeds, sipped flat whites, and agreed to part ways. "Still friends?" she asked. "Yeah, sure," I said, and I meant it at the time. We left it at that. We didn't really talk after. Maybe a casual text now and then, checking in. Nothing weird. That was until she texted me 7 months later. It was late August. I'd just come back from a short trip to visit family in Manchester when my phone buzzed. Maya. "Hey. Random, but can I ask you something weird?" Me. "That depends." Maya. "I'm in kind of a situation. I have to move out of my flat and the next lease doesn't start for another 5 days. Could I crash at yours? Just until then?" I stared at the message for a long time. Part of me was suspicious. Why me? We hadn't really spoken in months. The other part of me, the part that hates conflict and likes being helpful, answered before I could think too hard. Me. "Yeah. Couch okay?" Maya. "Absolutely. You're a lifesaver." I told myself it was temporary. I worked long hours anyway. I figured we'd barely cross paths. She showed up the next evening. She had 2 bags and a smile, wore a plain black hoodie and jeans. No makeup, hair pulled back like always. "Hey stranger," she said, stepping inside without hesitation. "Hey, welcome back. I joked. We did a quick catch-up in the kitchen, jobs, dating disasters, weird housemates. She laughed the same way she always did, tilting her head slightly to the side and covering her mouth like she was trying not to be too loud. It felt normal. A little awkward, sure, but manageable. I set her up on the couch with a spare duvet and pillow. She thanked me, then pulled out a book and started reading as I went to my room. I closed the door behind me and let out a breath I didn't realize I was holding. That night I went to bed around 11. I remember drifting off easily. It had been a long day and my body was sore from the drive. But at some point in the middle of the night I stirred. Something felt off. It wasn't a sound that woke me. More like a shift in the atmosphere. Like I wasn't alone. I opened my eyes and saw her, Maya, standing at the end of my bed. Just standing there. The room was pitch black, but the streetlight outside cast faint lines through the blinds, just enough to see her silhouette. I blinked hard. Thought maybe I was dreaming, but I wasn't. I could see her face, and it wasn't blank. It was angry. Number not just angry, it was hateful. Maya, I whispered. She didn't move. Didn't flinch. You okay? Nothing. I sat up slowly. She stepped back. I watched as she turned without a word and walked out of the room, quietly closing the door behind her. I sat there, heart racing, for a long time. Eventually, I convinced myself she'd been sleepwalking. Maybe she'd had a nightmare. Maybe she thought she was somewhere else. I didn't know. I just knew I hadn't imagined it. The next morning, I brought it up as casually as I could while pouring cereal. Hey, did you come into my room last night? She looked genuinely confused. What? No. You sure? You didn't sleepwalk or anything? She laughed. I've never sleepwalked in my life. I nodded, shrugged, let it go. But I didn't sleep much that night. The next night was worse. I woke up again, sometime around 2 a.m. I sat up immediately this time, heart already pounding. The end of the bed was empty, but the doorway wasn't. She was there again, just her head, peeking around the corner. Eyes locked on me. Same look, pure malice. I sat frozen. We made eye contact for maybe 10 seconds. Then she disappeared again. A full minute passed, and then her face appeared once more. Maya? I said louder this time. She pulled back and shut the door. I stayed awake until morning. She left later that day. Said her new flat was ready early. She packed fast, barely said goodbye. Thanks again, she said, smiling like nothing had happened. You're a good one. And then she was gone. I should have been relieved. But I wasn't. Because after that, strange things started happening. One night, about a week later, I got home from work and found a note on my kitchen counter. You don't lock your windows very well. Might want to start. There was no name, no handwriting I recognized. I checked every window, every lock. Nothing looked forced. I convinced myself maybe I'd left it unlocked by accident. But then came the texts. Unknown. Still sleeping okay? Unknown. I miss watching you. I changed my number. Then I started noticing things out of place. Drawers I didn't open. A coffee mug in the sink I didn't use. My toothbrush slightly damp when I hadn't brushed yet. And the worst? One night I came home late, turned on my bedroom light, and found my pillow soaked in something that looked like spit. I moved, immediately. Found a new place across the river in Kirkstall. Told only close friends. Months passed, no contact. Until one night, I was walking home from a night shift. The street was empty, the air was cold, and I saw her, across the road, standing under a lamppost, staring, not moving, just watching me walk by. I didn't say a word. I didn't stop. I kept walking, and I never saw her again. To this day, I don't know what was real and what wasn't. I never reported it. I had no proof, no video, no witnesses, but I know what I saw, and I know what it felt like. In her eyes, I wasn't a person anymore. I was prey. I never thought I'd see her again. That's not the start of a ghost story or a poetic way to describe regret. I mean it literally. After 3 years, no messages, no mutual friends, and her completely vanishing off social media, I figured she was long gone from my life. Her name was Madeline Quinn, and 3 years ago we were inseparable. We met at a dive bar in Henderson, just outside Las Vegas. She was quirky, intense but magnetic, the kind of girl who'd show up at your apartment with sushi and a disposable camera, saying she wanted to capture us forever. For 5 months, it was fire. Then it turned to ash. At first, the little things started. Dozens of texts a day, questions like, "Do you still love me?" Or, "Are you sure I'm enough?" She'd ask that repeatedly, sometimes crying during dinner if I didn't say it fast enough. It wasn't just neediness, it was obsession. And when I finally broke it off, I tried to do it gently. I didn't want to hurt her, but the damage had already taken root. Her final message to me the day we broke up still haunts me. "Take care, honey. Let's meet in 3 years. I'll be better then." Then she blocked me, changed her number, moved out of her apartment, no social media trail, vanished like smoke in the Vegas wind. 3 years passed. I wasn't the same guy anymore. I just turned 30, got promoted at my tech job downtown. I was dating someone new, Erin, a kind, grounded woman who worked as a nurse at Sunrise Hospital. Life was good. We talked about moving in together, maybe even getting a place in Summerlin, until one Thursday night in late September, the kind of dry, eerie desert night when the sky is dark but the air feels electric. There was a knock on my door. Not the doorbell, a knock. Slow, rhythmic, almost cautious. I was watching a game on mute, half asleep on the couch, and got up thinking it might be a delivery. I opened the door, and there she was. Madeline. My brain short-circuited. I literally stepped back in reflex, like I'd just seen a ghost. But what shocked me more wasn't that she had found me. It was what she looked like. She was unrecognizable. Her jaw, gone, or maybe reshaped so unnaturally it looked like it caved inward. Her nose was unnaturally sharp, pointed like glass, and her cheekbones were protruding under stretched skin. Her eyes, once a soft hazel, were unnaturally wide, the lids pulled back tight as if frozen in fear or madness. Only one thing let me know it was her: the tattoo on her neck. A small cursive script that read, "You have to love me." I had watched her get it inked on a drunken night years ago. She had said, "Now you can't ever forget." She stared at me, unblinking. Then, suddenly she lunged. Her hands were ice cold around my throat and she was screaming, "How do you like my face now? Do you love me yet?" Her mouth barely moved, twisted at an odd angle. Words came out slurred, like her tongue no longer sat right inside her mouth. I shoved her off me and slammed the door shut. She started pounding on it with both fists. I called the police. My hands shook as I explained. The cops arrived quickly. This was Las Vegas after all. They've seen it all. But even they were rattled when they found her still standing outside, quietly whispering to herself. They told me later she'd been staying in a motel not far from downtown and had been seen wandering near my office building a few times. That night I barely slept. The next morning I got a call from Detective Harlan from LVMPD. He told me that Madeline had undergone more than 100 unlicensed plastic surgeries in the past 3 years, all under fake names, across different border towns and even in Mexico. Her records showed she paid cash. No paper trail. The surgeries weren't just cosmetic. They were extreme. Bone shaving, eye widening, jaw dislocation, cartilage extensions. Some procedures were completely illegal, outlawed due to the dangers involved. One surgeon reported that she brought in pictures of celebrities, mannequins, anime characters, even Barbie dolls, and begged him to make her perfect. When they asked her why, all she kept saying was, "He said he didn't love me, But if I'm perfect, he will. 3 nights later, I found a note on my porch. It was folded neatly, no envelope. Please come to my place one last time, then I'll leave you forever. Address, 1451 Wesley Avenue, Unit B, North Las Vegas. I should have burned the note. Instead, curiosity got the better of me. Closure, maybe, or just guilt. So I went. The house was tucked behind an abandoned laundromat, part of an old duplex that looked like it hadn't seen a tenant since 2001. I parked on the street. The door was slightly open. The sun was setting behind the hills, throwing long shadows across the crumbling sidewalk. I knocked. No answer. "Madeline?" I called out, heart pounding. Then I saw it. A silhouette in the living room. A woman, tall, unmoving, standing perfectly still under the single ceiling light. I stepped inside slowly. "Madeline?" Then it spoke. "Do you love me now?" The voice wasn't coming from the figure. It was coming behind it. The figure itself wasn't human. It was a life-sized Barbie doll. Synthetic blonde hair, plastic smile, dead eyes. Someone had sewn real eyelashes onto it, put fake nails on its hands. Its face was painted with real makeup. The eyes looked wet, glossed over. Then Madeline stepped out from behind the doll. She was holding its hand, and a large kitchen knife in her other. Her eyes were wild, her lips stretched, cracked and raw from surgeries. It's not the looks, right? It's the part, right? That's what matters. She began walking toward me, slowly at first, then lunging forward with the doll still in her grip. She screamed, "Love me now. Love me or I'll put your heart inside her." I dodged. The knife grazed my arm. I stumbled back and ran. Out the door, across the yard, into the street. A neighbor saw me and called 911. She was arrested that night. When they searched the house, they found 6 other dolls, all styled in different ways. Some were labeled with names. Perfect Madeline, Love version 3, Angel Girl. But the worst thing they found was in a journal under her mattress. Page after page written in red ink, all the same sentence. "He'll love me if I become everything." They also found surgical tools. And one note, taped to the wall. "If I can't have his love, I'll build a body that will." Madeline was diagnosed with a severe psychiatric condition, a combination of body dysmorphia, delusional disorder, and obsessive love disorder. She was committed to a psychiatric facility indefinitely. I moved. I couldn't stay in Vegas after that. Aaron tried to help me cope, but I started shutting down. The trauma ran deeper than I expected. I kept seeing that doll in my dreams, the fake smile, the plastic skin. People say love makes you do crazy things, but sometimes obsession disguises itself as love. And when someone believes that your love is the only thing that can fix them, they'll tear themselves apart, and you too, just to feel whole again. I met Isabel during the fall semester of my senior year at Portland Community College. She wasn't in any of my classes, but I saw her constantly, at the library, on the quad, walking past the gym after my late class. Her face was hard to forget. She had that rare, timeless kind of beauty that made people stare, not flashy or attention-seeking, just angelic. Pale skin, honey brown hair that caught the sun just right, and soft, distant eyes, like she was always thinking about something no one else could see. People noticed her, sure, but they didn't go near her. I found out why a few weeks into the semester, during lunch with my friends at the student cafe. "You know that girl Isabel?" my buddy Tyler asked, nodding toward the window. She was walking alone across the lawn, a closed book in her arms like always. "The quiet one?" I asked. "Yeah, why?" He smirked, but it didn't reach his eyes. "They say she's cursed." I laughed. "What is this, a ghost story?" "No, seriously," said our friend Natalie. She leaned in, lowering her voice. 3 of her exes died. The most recent one just last summer. Car accident, overdose, and one drowned. They all died within 6 months of dating her. That's just messed up coincidences, I said, trying to keep my tone light. But it's true, Natalie insisted. Everyone on campus knows about it. It's why people stay away. Cops questioned her last time, but nothing came of it. No proof, no charges, just weird vibes. Maybe she's just unlucky, I said, but a cold chill crawled up my spine anyway. From that point on, I became more aware of her. And despite the rumors, or maybe because of them, I watched her more closely. She always walked alone, ate alone, sat on a bench reading under the maple tree in the courtyard, even when it rained lightly. Never with headphones, never on her phone. It was almost like she didn't belong in this time at all. 2 months later, I was studying in the library during finals week when someone pulled out the chair across from me. "Hi." I looked up, and it was her, Isabel. I blinked. "Hey." She smiled softly. "You're Josh, right?" I hesitated. "Yeah, how do you know?" "I've seen you around," she said, and her voice was calm, sweet, and low, like a lullaby. "You seem kind." I couldn't help it. I smiled. "Thanks." "Can I sit here?" she asked. "Sure. Yeah, of course." She pulled out a notebook and started writing quietly. We sat together for almost an hour, no real conversation, just an occasional smile exchanged between reading breaks. It was peaceful, comfortable. At the end, she packed up and turned to me. "There's a place I've been wanting to go to," she said. "Would you go with me?" I paused. "What kind of place?" She tilted her head. "It's not far, just somewhere peaceful. I don't usually ask people things like this, but I want to go with you." My brain flashed with the stories, the rumors, the 3 dead guys. But looking into her eyes, she looked so sincere, so lonely. "Sure," I said before I could overthink it. We started dating not long after that. It was slow at first. A coffee here, a walk around Laurelhurst Park there. She never used social media. Didn't even have an Instagram. Her phone was old, cracked, and barely used. She read a lot of spiritual books, mysticism, religion, New Age stuff. I asked her once what she believed in, and she said, "I believe that heaven is real, that it's not far, not in the sky, just very close, but only some people can reach it." I thought it was poetic nonsense, but she said it with such conviction, like it was fact. Despite all the warnings, I found myself drawn to her, addicted even. Her presence was soothing. She was gentle, calm. She remembered everything I told her, made me tea when I was sick, held my hand in a way that felt like she meant it. The rumors faded in my head. I rationalized. 3 deaths over 3 years, that doesn't prove anything. And when people warned me, I just brushed it off. It felt good. Being with her felt good. Until one night. We were in her apartment, a small second-floor studio just off Division Street. Minimalist, but strangely peaceful. She lit candles instead of using lamps, always played soft, ancient-sounding music. Her bookshelf was lined with theology texts and worn journals with her handwriting. That evening, after dinner, she sat next to me on the couch and stared out the window for a long time. Then she turned to me and said, "Don't you want to go to heaven?" I laughed a little. "What?" She was still looking out the window. "I do. I've prayed about it for years. And now I know the time is near." I stared at her, unsure if this was a metaphor or a mental health issue. "I asked God," she continued, "and he told me the house is ready. For both of us." I swallowed hard. "You mean, like dying?" "No," she said. "Not dying, just crossing over. He told me the world is too heavy for people like us. It's why I never fit in. But he said we'll be happy there." Then she reached into her bag and pulled out a thermos. She handed it to me. "I made us something. Chamomile, honey, valerian. It'll help us cross gently." I didn't take it. Isabel, I said, what's in this? She smiled, but her eyes were serious. It's love. I wouldn't give you anything that would hurt you. You know that, right? I stood up. She didn't. You're scaring me, I said. She looked heartbroken. I thought you understood. I thought you felt it too. That longing, that ache. I know you feel it. I saw it in your eyes the day we met. I backed away toward the door. Josh, please, she said, her voice cracking. Don't leave me here, not again. They all left. They didn't understand, but you do. I know you do. I opened the door. She stood up and shouted, tears streaming down her face. We are citizens of heaven. I ran. I blocked her number, never answered her texts or calls, changed my walk to class, avoided the library, told people we broke up, and they just gave me this look, like they expected it, like they were just relieved I was alive. 3 weeks later, the police called me. They needed me to answer some questions. A man, 27 years old, had been found dead in a park on the outskirts of the city. Toxicology showed he had consumed a cocktail of sedatives and opioids. His body was dressed all in white, and when officers arrived, Isabel was kneeling beside him, eyes closed, whispering prayers. When questioned, she smiled and said, "My boyfriend just arrived in heaven." She was arrested on the spot. During her interrogation, she told the detectives, "He's not dead. He's in heaven. God said the house was ready. He opened the door. I only helped him step through it." They found journals in her apartment, dozens of them. She had recorded everything, her mission, her prayers, and detailed descriptions of the crossings, all 3 previous men. She had been there when they died. She hadn't pushed them or stabbed them or pulled the trigger, but she had guided them, with drinks, with rituals, with her voice. There was just never proof until now. I was called in to testify. It was the hardest thing I've ever done. She saw me in court. Her face lit up when I entered, like she thought I came to join her. When I took the stand, she mouthed, "We belong together." I looked away. She was found guilty, but they declared her legally insane. She's now in a psychiatric facility outside Salem, Oregon. Life sentence, no parole. I still see her in dreams sometimes, standing under the maple tree, smiling with that same soft look in her eyes, holding out her hand. "Come with me," she says. And behind her there's a house glowing white in the distance. I always wake up before I answer, but for a moment I wonder, what if it really is there? What if she wasn't insane at all? What if heaven is real, and I left her at the gates? I wasn't looking for love when I left my parents' house and moved into a 1-bedroom apartment in the San Fernando Valley. I was 22, working full-time as a plumber for a small family-owned business in Los Angeles. Things were finally falling into place. Steady income, quiet nights, and the kind of independence I'd craved since high school. My name is Ryan Keller, and I'll never forget what happened that summer. It started like any normal workday. It was mid-June, brutally hot, even at 9 in the morning. I had an appointment in West Hollywood to fix a couple of busted pipes in an old Spanish-style home. The job wasn't anything complicated, but I remember it clearly, because that's the first time I met Melanie. She was 22, just a few months older than me. The homeowners were her parents, friendly people, very laid back, but she was the one who answered the door. She wore a faded Pink Floyd shirt, had a messy bun, no makeup, and still looked like someone who belonged on a movie set. She offered me water, kept asking questions while I worked, about my tools, the kind of places I get called to, whether I had a girlfriend. At the time, I didn't, and honestly, I thought she was just being polite. But when she slipped me her number on a piece of scrap paper and winked, I realized she was serious. We texted later that night. One thing led to another. Within a week, we were going out. 2 months later, she moved in. It all happened fast, too fast in hindsight, but at the time, it felt exciting. I'd never had someone like her before. She was funny, unpredictable, full of energy. She'd leave handwritten notes in my lunchbox, send me random selfies, cook elaborate meals when I got home. But as the weeks passed, that energy shifted. It got heavy. The first time I saw the cracks was at a small taco joint in Reseda. We were eating outside and I got a text from my coworker James about a scheduling change. Melanie glanced at my phone and immediately froze. "Who's Kayla?" she asked. "What?" "Kayla. That girl who sent you the heart emoji last week. I saw it when you opened your Instagram. I laughed, thinking she was joking. Kayla's my cousin from Denver." She didn't smile, just stared at me, arms crossed. "Okay, calm down," I said. "It's not what you're thinking." That night, she went silent. The next morning, I found she had deleted over 30 people from my contacts. Girls I went to high school with, co-workers, even my own cousin. She didn't even deny it. "They were clutter," she said. "I should have ended it right then." But I didn't. I told myself she was just being protective. I'd never lived with a girlfriend before. Maybe this was normal. It wasn't. Things got worse in public. She'd explode over small things. Once, at Target, I took too long in the electronics aisle. She dragged me out by the arm and screamed at me in the parking lot, accusing me of checking out the cashier. Another time, at a friend's BBQ, she accused my best friend's fiancé of flirting with me because she laughed at one of my jokes. She cried, broke things, slammed doors, then apologized, every single time. "I just love you too much," she'd whisper. "I'm scared of losing you. Please don't ever leave me, Ryan." After 3 months, I couldn't take it anymore. I told her I needed space, that it wasn't working, that I was always anxious around her, always walking on eggshells. She stared at me like I'd spoken a foreign language. Then she threw her glass at the wall, locked herself in the bathroom for 2 hours, and finally came out calm. "Okay," she said. "I'll leave." She packed her things slowly, like she was waiting for me to stop her. I didn't. She kissed me on the cheek before walking out the door. That should have been the end. It wasn't. The harassment started the next day. Rocks hit my window at 2 a.m. I looked outside and saw nothing, but when I stepped out, I found a crumpled note under my doormat. It said, "You said you'd never leave me." That week, I found her car parked down the street every night. She'd just sit there, engine off, watching. Sometimes for hours. When I called the cops, she vanished before they arrived. Every time. 2 weeks later, I came home to find her inside. She was in my kitchen, barefoot, holding one of my mugs like it was the most natural thing in the world. I froze. "How did you get in?" She smiled. "You never changed the locks, Rye. Did you forget I have a key?" I didn't want to escalate things. I stayed calm, told her I was tired, asked her to leave. She did. But 2 nights later, I came home to find writing on my walls. At first it was pencil. "Come back." Then it turned into red Sharpie. "I'll never let you go." Then it got worse. Blood. I swear to God. She had cut open her arms and used her fingers to write my name over and over again across the bathroom tiles. The cops came. They took photos, filed a report. But since she had already left and I hadn't seen her actually break in, they said they couldn't arrest her. I changed the locks that night, upgraded to a security system the next day. But Melanie wasn't done. She started showing up at my parents' house in Burbank. One night around 1:30 a.m., my mom woke up to a soft tapping on the window and saw Melanie standing outside, tapping the glass with a kitchen knife, just smiling, dead silent. My mom had a panic attack. My dad called the police, but again, Melanie was gone by the time they got there. That was the last straw. I started sleeping at my parents' place, kept my phone on silent, stopped going to work for a week. I was exhausted, terrified. I filed for a restraining order, but those take time. Weeks, months sometimes. The final night changed everything. It was 2:13 a.m. I remember because I looked at my phone the moment I heard the noise. Tap, tap, tap on the bedroom window. I got up, walked to the curtain, and there she was, Melanie. Pale, sunken cheeks, wild eyes, big grin. She looked like she hadn't slept in days. She didn't blink. "Come out," she whispered. I could hear her, clear as day. I stormed out the front door, heart pounding, and shouted at her. "Melanie, stop this. Stay the hell away from me and my family." She didn't move. Then she screamed, and a long, high-pitched, broken scream, and charged at me with a knife. I barely reacted in time. I punched her, hard, right across the jaw. She hit the pavement, unconscious. I called 911, told them everything. I didn't even hang up until the cops arrived. They arrested her on the spot. They found my old house key in her bra, along with photos of me, strands of my hair, and a piece of my mail with my address circled in red ink. It was like something out of a horror movie. Melanie was sentenced to 5 years in a psychiatric correctional facility after being declared unstable and dangerous. The court mandated long-term treatment due to her history of violence, stalking, and self-harm. We moved. My parents sold their house. I left the valley. Changed my number, my car, everything. I'm in San Diego now, working for a different company. Quiet apartment, few friends, no relationships. I still don't sleep well. Some nights I wake up to the sound of tapping, even when it's nothing. Just wind. But I always check, because Melanie's sentence will end in less than 2 years. And I know she hasn't forgotten me. I don't think she ever will. She ever. I never imagined that getting into a relationship could eventually lead me to fear for my freedom, my safety, even my sanity. My name is Jason Grant. I'm 26 now, married, and a proud father of 2. But 6 years ago, my life was a complete mess. Back then I was 20, a mechanic working long shifts at a garage just outside of Knoxville, Tennessee. I had recently moved out of my parents' house, finally trying to build a life of my own. That's when I met Sierra. At first, Sierra seemed like a dream. She was 22, smart, beautiful, and passionate about music. We met at a local open mic night. She sang, "I fixed the soundboard that wouldn't stop buzzing." She thought that was cool. I thought she was magnetic, and for the first couple of months everything was fine. Better than fine. She'd drop by the shop with lunch, we'd spend long nights binge-watching crime documentaries, and she always had this way of making me feel like I was the only person in the world that mattered. Looking back, I realize now that wasn't love. It was possession. The first red flag came barely 3 months into our relationship. I'd made plans to catch a movie with my friend Malik, someone I'd known since middle school. When I told Sierra, she froze. Then she started crying. Not just soft tears, sobbing like someone died. "What's wrong?" I asked. "You'd rather spend time with him than me?" she whispered. "It's just a movie, babe. You and I spent the last 5 nights together. I'll be back home in 2 hours." She didn't respond. She just stared at the floor, tears still streaming down her face. After that night, I never saw Malik again. Not because he stopped calling, but because I stopped picking up. It wasn't always that dramatic. Sometimes it was subtle, like how she'd twist every story until I felt like the bad guy. "You didn't text me back fast enough" would turn into, "You don't care about me." Or if I came home 5 minutes late from work, it became, "Were you seeing someone else?" At first I tried to reassure her, then I tried to ignore it. Then I started lying just to avoid her reactions, and somewhere along the line I realized I was scared of her. I tried to break up with her once, about a year into the relationship. We were sitting in her apartment. It was raining outside, I remember, and I told her as gently as I could, "I don't think this is working anymore." She blinked a few times, then went eerily still. "So what? You're just gonna leave me like everyone else?" she asked. "Sierra, I'm not trying to hurt you. I just think we both need space. It's gotten toxic." "Toxic?" She laughed bitterly. "You're the one making it toxic. You make me this way." Then she stormed into the bathroom and slammed the door. I thought she was just blowing off steam until I heard her scream. I rushed in. She had a razor in her hand and a red scratch down her thigh. Not deep, but it didn't have to be. "You see what you do to me?" she whispered, looking me in the eye like she wanted me to feel guilty. I stayed. Over the next 6 months, I tried to leave her 4 more times. Every time she found a new method to keep me chained. A panic attack. A suicide threat. One time she called my mom, crying that I had abandoned her. Another time she texted photos of her wrists covered in ink to look like blood. I hated myself. I hated who I'd become. Silent, isolated, and constantly anxious. I couldn't talk to anyone because I felt like no one would believe me. She was so good at putting on a sweet face in public. Then one day, everything shifted. I was walking through the Hamilton Mall on my day off, just trying to clear my head when I ran into Emily. We dated back in high school for a bit, ended things on good terms. She was working at a clothing store and spotted me across the food court. We talked like old friends, laughed even. She asked how I'd been. I told her everything. Emily listened. She didn't say, "Just leave her." She didn't say, "Maybe it's not that bad." She looked me in the eyes and said, "Jason, she's emotionally abusing you. You need to get out or she's going to take everything from you, and if you're scared she'll hurt herself, tell someone. Don't carry that alone." Those words stuck, so I made a plan. I waited until a Friday afternoon when Sierra was at her part-time job at a local bakery. I packed my stuff, just the essentials, and called in a favor from my cousin Brett, who agreed to take me and my 2 dogs in temporarily. Then I texted Sierra, "Can we talk over dinner? I think we need to have an honest conversation." She agreed. We met at a small Italian restaurant. She seemed nervous but calm. I kept things short and direct. "I'm leaving, Sierra. I'm sorry, but I can't do this anymore. I'm moving out and I think we both need to grow separately. Please don't hurt yourself over this." She froze. Then her smile cracked. "You're serious?" "Yes." "You bastard." She stood up, knocked her glass of water onto the table and stormed out. That night I moved back in with Brett. My mom called, worried. My dad didn't say much but offered to help if things got messy. Brett's girlfriend was nervous about the drama following me into their house, but I promised it would be temporary. It wasn't. 2 nights later, I woke up to pounding on the door at 3 a.m. It was the cops. "Are you Jason Grant?" "Yes, sir." "We have a report filed against you by a Ms. Sierra Lane. She's claiming you assaulted her and stole cash from her apartment under threat of a weapon. You need to come with us." I was speechless. I couldn't even form a sentence. They cuffed me, didn't read me my rights at first. I was taken downtown, sat in an icy room under buzzing fluorescent lights, while a detective asked me the same questions on repeat. "Where were you between 8 p.m. and midnight 2 nights ago?" "With my cousin. You can call him. We were playing video games." "And you didn't go to Ms. Lane's apartment?" "I haven't seen her since dinner. I have no key, no weapon." They didn't believe me. Sierra had bruises. She had a story. She had tears. I had an alibi, and eventually DNA evidence to back me up. 2 weeks in county jail, 2 weeks of silence, fear, and staring at cinder-block walls. I didn't even cry. I just sat and waited, hoping truth meant something. Eventually, the tests came back. Nothing matched. I was cleared. But the damage? Already done. Sierra wasn't done. Not even close. Over the next year, she filed 4 separate restraining orders, each claiming I was stalking her. She said I followed her car, texted her from burner phones, even claimed I left dead flowers on her porch. Every time, I had proof I was somewhere else. My phone's GPS, receipts, testimonies. Still, the court had to investigate. It was policy. She even hired a private investigator to follow me and Emily. Yes, we got back together. We almost didn't make it through. Emily received anonymous texts threatening her. She came home one day to find her car keyed. Once she caught someone snapping photos of her from across the street. But the PI never got caught. Eventually, one judge had enough. After the 4th restraining order request, he finally snapped. "This is harassment," he said aloud in court. "The petitioner has offered no evidence, and the respondent has shown consistent, verifiable proof of innocence." That was the last time we saw Sierra in court. She vanished not long after, moved away from what I hear. Emily and I got married a couple of years later. We have 2 kids now, a home, and peace. Real peace. But sometimes when I hear a sudden knock on the door or see an unfamiliar car parked outside, I still freeze for a second. My mind still goes back to her, to the fear, to the gaslighting, to the way someone can take everything from you just by twisting your reality. If you're reading this and going through something similar, don't wait for a scar or a court date to make your move. Get out. Speak up. You deserve to be safe. As for Sierra, wherever you are, I hope you find the help you need. And I pray no one else becomes your next project. I never believed in the supernatural. Not because I thought I was too logical or smart for it, it just never happened to me. No haunted mirrors, no creepy whispers, no glowing eyes in the dark. My life had always been boring in the best way. Wake up, eat breakfast, bike to university, finish my part-time shift at the bookstore, and head home. I lived in a small riverside town called Fairbridge, tucked away in the southern part of New Zealand. Picture slow, misty mornings, streets lined with wilting willow trees and locals who always knew each other's dogs by name. My dad, Robert Marsh, was a retired school teacher. We lived in an aging house just a 5-minute walk from the riverbank. It was peaceful, predictable, and safe. Until I met Claire Morgan. Claire changed everything. We met during the summer before my 3rd year of university. I was 20 then, working the evening shift at a dusty second-hand bookstore called Spine and Paper. Claire came in wearing this vintage gray coat, black boots, and a scarf wrapped way too tightly for the mild weather. She looked like she belonged in another decade. 50s, maybe 60s. She didn't smile. She didn't even really look at me. She just said, "Do you have any books on lucid dreaming?" Her voice was soft but firm, and for reasons I couldn't explain, I instantly wanted her to stay longer. We talked, slowly, over a few visits. First about dreams, then about music, then about how she never liked technology and still used a flip phone. She was odd in an enchanting way. After about 3 weeks, I asked if she wanted to grab coffee sometime. She said yes without hesitation. That was how it started. Our first date felt different. I can't describe it better than that. We walked by the river at sunset. She didn't talk much, but when she did, her words were intense, like she was always halfway through some deep thought. "I used to sleepwalk," she said, watching the water. "My parents would find me standing outside, just staring." "That's creepy," I laughed. She looked at me, dead serious. It was. Something about her fascinated me. Maybe it was the mystery, or maybe I was just lonely. I hadn't dated since high school, and Claire, she was beautiful in an old world kind of way. Long dark hair, pale skin, the way she never wore makeup but somehow looked ethereal. We started spending more time together. She never wanted to meet in crowds, never wanted to go to restaurants or pubs, always quiet parks, empty fields, or my house. I found it romantic at first, like we were the only 2 people in the world. But slowly, the strangeness started creeping in. Claire never let me visit her place. She said it was too messy, but I never saw so much as a photo of her home. She also refused to use social media, and I never met her parents or any of her friends. One night, we were lying on the grass behind my house, staring at the stars like we often did. She whispered, "Do you believe souls can be split?" I thought she meant metaphorically. "I guess," I said. "Like, people not knowing who they really are?" "No," she said, turning to me. "I mean literally. Like, what if someone's soul broke in half, and one part stayed behind?" I didn't know what to say. Then she added, "Sometimes I feel like part of me doesn't belong here." I thought it was just poetic talk, maybe trauma. I didn't push her on it. Looking back, I should have. It was early October when it happened. Claire had stayed late at my house, and around 11:30 p.m. she said she wanted to walk back. I offered to walk her halfway, but she refused. "No one's out this late," she said, smiling. "It's peaceful." I watched her disappear down the road under the flickering streetlight. Not 15 minutes later, I got a call. Not a phone call. It was a knock on my window, not the front door, my bedroom window, the one facing the backyard. I jumped. When I pulled the curtain, no one was there, but a chill ran through my entire body. I don't know how long I stood there, heart pounding. Then I got a text from Claire. "I need you to come to the river. Now please." No punctuation, just those 10 words. I didn't even change out of my pajamas. I ran. The river wasn't far, just through a small wooded path behind the old community hall. I knew it like the back of my hand, but that night the air felt wrong, heavy. When I reached the clearing, the moon was casting a weird shimmer on the water. And then I saw her, Claire, standing by a tree near the water's edge, head down, hair hiding her face. "Claire?" I called. She didn't respond. I took a step closer, then another. She slowly raised her head, and I swear to God my stomach turned inside out. It wasn't Claire, or it was, but not fully. Her face was pale, almost bluish. Her eyes were glassy, lifeless, and blood was dripping from her mouth. I stumbled back. "Claire, what the hell? Are you okay?" She just stood there, and then, without moving her lips, I heard her voice in my head. "Don't uncover me." I blacked out. I woke up in my bed. My clothes were wet, muddy. My hands were trembling. My dad was in the kitchen reading the newspaper like nothing had happened. I checked my phone. No message from Claire. I tried calling. The line was dead. I biked to the bookstore to see if she'd shown up. Nothing. I asked around campus. No one had seen her. That entire day was a blur, like the hours were melting. That night I dreamt of her again, standing by the river, head down, whispering, "You saw too much." I filed a missing person report. The officer, Detective Michael Lane, was kind but clearly skeptical. "Are you sure she exists?" he asked. "No phone number. No address. No photos. You said she didn't even use social media." "She's real," I said firmly. "We've been dating for almost 2 months." He nodded slowly. "Well, we'll look into it." But I could see it in his eyes. He didn't believe me. No one did. I started digging. Old town archives, historical records, anything I could find about the river, the tree, the stretch of land where I saw her. And I found something. An old article from 1964. Local woman drowns after alleged possession. Claims of witchcraft denied by family. Her name was Clara Morgan. Same last name. Same face. I know how insane that sounds, but the photo was there, printed in grainy black and white. She had the same sharp jaw, the same eyes. And the article? It said she was found nailed to a tree by the river by townspeople who believed she was possessed. They claimed she lured young men into the woods at night, that she whispered to them, that some came back, changed. Others didn't come back at all. They said she died at 22. Claire was 22. I didn't sleep for days. Then, one night, around 2 a.m., I heard the knock again. This time it wasn't the window. It was the front door. I grabbed a flashlight and opened it. No one. Only a single wet footprint on the porch. I turned, and there she was, Claire, standing barefoot in the hallway behind me, soaked, shivering, pale as the moon. I couldn't speak, couldn't move. She stepped closer. I tried to stop them. I tried to leave. I whispered, "Claire, what are you?" Tears ran down her cheeks. She said, "I'm what they made me." And then she disappeared. Not faded, not ran, just gone. It's been 7 years. I left Fairbridge, got therapy, got married, moved to Auckland. But sometimes, late at night, I still hear the knock. Just one. Then silence. And sometimes, when I walk by a river, I feel someone behind me. I never turn around, because I know she's still there, watching, waiting. And if I look back, she'll come home with me. I was the kind of guy who barely existed in high school. If I wasn't in the back row of class doodling nonsense or half asleep with my hoodie up, I was probably pushing carts outside the local supermarket just to pay for my own lunches. I didn't party. I didn't have friends who pulled me into things. I was there. Cedar Hill was the kind of town where nothing ever really happened. Just a mix of farmland, a slow-moving river, and streets where everyone knew your dad's name before they knew yours. And in the middle of that sleepy town was her. Her name was Kara Whitmore. And to me, she was a hurricane in a glass world. Everyone noticed her. The teachers, the boys, even some of the moms during open house. She wasn't just pretty. She moved differently, like she'd already seen the world and was just passing through our little school for fun. And me? I couldn't even look her in the eyes. I think I said a total of 0 words to her the entire 4 years. But I watched. Not in a creepy way, I swear, but like you stare at a fire when you're cold. She was always sketching in her notebooks. I heard once that she wanted to go to some art college out in Chicago, open a gallery someday. I never really believed she'd stay in a place like this. Then time passed, as it does. I graduated. Got a job at this chain restaurant called Ember's Grill on the north end of town. I cooked on the line, cleaned the fryers, took out the trash. Still invisible, still nobody. Until she walked in. It was a Friday night. Place was packed. Country music playing too loud. I was taking orders behind the bar for extra tips when I saw her. Same sharp jawline, same almond eyes. But older now, 23 like me. And she looked right at me. "Kyle?" she said. I nearly dropped the pitcher in my hand. I hadn't heard my name said like that in years. Yeah, wow. Kara? She smiled. Not a fake smile either. It was warm, even nostalgic. "You're working here? That's crazy. You were in my class, right? You sat behind me in world history?" My heart was pounding. How the hell did she remember that? Before I could answer, this guy slid into the booth next to her. Broad shoulders, confident smirk. Ryan Wells, football captain. My old classmate too. He gave me a nod like we were friends, but I could see the way Kara leaned toward him. It stung. I took their order, made some small talk, and went back to the bar. But the whole night, my head was spinning. Over the next couple of weeks, she came in again, and then again. Sometimes with Ryan, sometimes with friends. But once, just once, she came alone. That was the first time we really talked. She asked about my life, what I'd been doing, told me she never did make it to art school, said something about her mom getting sick and needing to stay home. She'd been helping at her uncle's framing shop now, just off Miller Street. We laughed about dumb teachers. She remembered my name, remembered I liked science fiction books. She even asked if I still drew. I hadn't drawn in years, but I told her I did. I lied. That night I went home, locked the door, buried my face in my pillow, and screamed like a kid. What the hell was happening? A week later, she came in again. Alone. No Ryan. "Hey," she said, leaning against the counter. "You off work soon?" Yeah, why?" "You should come over. I want to show you something." I blinked. "Like, tonight?" She smiled. "Yeah, I've got wine. And something you'll like. Trust me." I said yes. Of course I did. She gave me her address, somewhere off the old river road near the woods, a little isolated but not far. That night I showed up, nervous as hell. It was a one-story house, older but clean, porch light flickering, porch swing creaking gently in the wind. I knocked. She opened the door wearing a paint-stained sweatshirt and black jeans. "Kyle," she said, grinning. "Come in." The first thing I noticed was that the entire floor of the living room was covered in clear plastic. She saw me glance down. "Oh, ignore that," she said quickly. "I'm repainting tomorrow. Don't want to get stains on the hardwood." Fair enough. But something felt off. The second thing I noticed? The paintings. Framed, stretched canvas everywhere. Men in pain, men crying, men screaming. One in particular made me freeze. A man with Ryan's exact face, eyes bulging, blood coming from his mouth, body twisted on the floor like he was mid-scream. "What the hell is this?" I whispered. She came beside me, calm. "I call that one entropy. It's my best so far. Can't you feel the pain, the suffering?" Her voice trembled with excitement. He wouldn't stop talking about how perfect his life was. Job in Chicago, his stupid car. So I shattered his jaw with a mallet. Took forever to get the right scream. But eventually he gave me what I needed. I took a step back. You're joking." She tilted her head. "I'm not." I looked at her. Something in her eyes was wrong. They were dilated, twitching like she hadn't slept in days. I turned toward the door. She laughed, soft and cold. "You haven't even seen the others." I spun back. 4 other paintings, each one of a man I'd never met, but all in agony. One had spiders crawling over him. One had his limbs tied to ropes. Another was mid-fall with knives stuck in his back. "Art," she said, "is purest when it's honest, and humans are only honest when they're dying." I said nothing. My knees locked. My mouth went dry. She turned and walked toward the kitchen. "You know that quote? Art is pain. It's not just a metaphor. It's the truth." When she came back, she was holding a frozen medieval mace, the kind you'd see in a museum. "Kyle," she said, her voice sweet as syrup, "it's your turn. I've been planning your painting for days." I bolted. She swung the mace and narrowly missed my head. It smashed against the doorframe, sending wood flying. I crashed through the front door, slipped once on the porch plastic and rolled off the steps. She screamed after me, "Come back! I haven't finished your portrait." I ran into the night, didn't stop until I reached the main road. Called the cops with shaking fingers. They raided her house the next morning. Found blood in the bathtub. A locked freezer in the garage with 4 bodies. One of them confirmed as Ryan Wells. She'd beaten him to death with a hammer. The other 3 were never reported missing. Just drifters, out-of-towners, disposable. The paintings? Each one matched a corpse. She was arrested, charged with 4 counts of first-degree murder and sentenced to life without parole. I didn't leave my bed for a week. Didn't talk to anyone. Sometimes I think about that night. How close I came. If I'd tripped on the plastic, if I hadn't unlocked that damn door fast enough, I'd be a painting, a masterpiece. But not for the reasons anyone would be proud of. And I never draw anymore. Not after that. I don't want to know what lies behind the frame. I always believed the worst someone could do in a relationship was lie or cheat. That's what I thought until I met Olivia. It didn't start off scary. In fact, it was one of the happiest times of my life. I had just moved to Portland after dropping out of college in Eugene. I was 19, burnt out, unsure of my direction, and crashing on my cousin's couch while trying to find a job. His name was Darren, and he was the one who introduced me to her. "She's a friend of a friend," Darren had said as we stood in line outside a bar that didn't even check IDs. Chill, smart, a little weird, but like the cool kind. I was instantly intrigued. I hadn't dated in almost a year. I had trust issues from my last girlfriend and didn't think I'd be able to connect with anyone again. Then I saw her. Olivia wasn't the kind of girl that made everyone stop and stare. She wasn't flashy or overly made up. But she had this calm intensity. Deep hazel eyes, thick black hair pulled into a messy bun, a black leather jacket over a faded Bauhaus t-shirt. She looked like she had secrets, and I wanted to know every one of them. We hit it off fast. Too fast. She laughed at my jokes. She listened like no one ever had. I told her things I hadn't told anyone, not even Darren. We started seeing each other constantly, and within 2 weeks, I was staying over at her apartment most nights. It was an old building in the Buckman neighborhood, 3rd floor corner unit. The kind of place with creaky wooden floors and peeling paint that felt more like a vibe than a flaw. At first, it was perfect. Olivia had routines, strange ones. Every Sunday, she'd go to this little shop on Hawthorne called the Wild Thistle. They sold herbs, crystals, candles, books with titles like Blood Magic, The Red Path, and Transference of Will. I thought it was quirky. New Age stuff like half the girls in Portland. She never forced anything on me, not really. But the more time we spent together, the more I found myself adjusting to her world. She didn't like mirrors. She made me cover mine when I moved in, said they reflected too much energy. She hated loud music, so I stopped playing mine. She burned black candles and sage in every room and whispered to them under her breath. She'd stay up late sometimes, writing in a thick, leather-bound journal with symbols I didn't recognize. Still, I stayed. I told myself it was harmless. Artistic. That's what love does. It makes you rationalize things that should make you run. About 2 months in, she asked me to dye my hair black. I laughed, thinking she was joking. She wasn't. "You'd look more aligned," she said. I didn't know what that meant, but I wanted to make her happy, so I did it. Then she suggested I grow a beard, said it would ground me. Then came the clothes. Dark, heavy layers, strange jewelry she made me wear. It didn't happen overnight, but piece by piece, I became someone else. Even my voice changed. I started talking slower, quieter. Not because she told me to, but because she looked at me differently when I did. Darren noticed before I did. "Bro, you good?" he asked one night when I met him for coffee. "You look like you haven't slept in a month, and your vibe is off." I shrugged it off. But deep down, I knew something wasn't right. The worst part was, I didn't care. It was a rainy Tuesday night when Darren came to visit. I hadn't seen him in months. Olivia said he gave her strange feelings, so I stopped inviting him over. But he showed up unannounced, said he was worried, said I didn't answer his texts. "I thought you moved or something," he said, standing in the hallway, soaked and shivering. Olivia was out. I let him in. "You want coffee?" I asked. He blinked. "Since when do you drink coffee? You used to hate hot drinks." I didn't answer. I just went to the kitchen and put on the kettle. We talked awkwardly. I didn't know how to explain how empty I felt, like I was here but also not, like I was watching someone else live my life. At one point, Darren excused himself to use the bathroom. He didn't come back for 10 minutes. When he did, he looked pale, shaken. "Yvonne," he said quietly, "what's in that back room? The one with the red curtain?" I froze. "That room's private," I muttered. He stared at me. I saw what's in there. He described it exactly. A large red pentagram painted on the hardwood floor, black candles at each point, a bowl filled with ash and what looked like teeth, and something in the center, what he called a stone slab or altar. My hands were shaking. "She told me never to go in there," I said. "You've never seen it?" he asked. I shook my head. Then Olivia walked in. She didn't scream, didn't flinch. She looked at Darren like she'd been expecting him. "You weren't invited," she said calmly. Darren stood up, staring at her. "You've been doing things to him," he said. "He's not himself." She smiled. "He's more himself than he's ever been." Then she turned to me. "Don't listen to him. He wants to pull you away. He wants to break the circle." Something in her voice, low, commanding, inhuman, snapped me out of it. I looked at Darren, looked at her, and I ran. We didn't make it far. The door wouldn't open. no matter how hard we yanked it. Olivia stood at the end of the hallway, arms outstretched, eyes completely black. I felt something, pressure inside my head, like my thoughts were being crushed. Darren grabbed a candle from a table and hurled it at her. It missed, shattered against the wall. "Get to the circle room," he shouted. We rushed in and slammed the door behind us. I stood in the center of the pentagram, trembling. Then I noticed something. My chest burned, right in the center, like something was inside me trying to claw its way out. "Ivan," Darren said, "she's using this room to anchor something in you." I fell to my knees. Then Olivia screamed from outside, "Let him finish the transfer. He belongs to me now." Darren dragged a heavy bookshelf in front of the door. He looked at me. "We have to break the circle." "But she said..." "Exactly," she said. "You think she cares what happens to you?" I grabbed a piece of my shirt and wiped across one of the red lines, and just like that, the air shifted. The candle flames blew out all at once. The pain in my chest vanished. Then came a howl. A scream. Not human. Not hers. And when we opened the door, Olivia was gone. I didn't sleep that night. Neither did Darren. He took me to a church the next day. The priest didn't even seem surprised when we told him. Just asked me if I felt whole again. I told him I didn't know what that felt like anymore. A few days later, I went back to the apartment to collect my things. The place was empty. No sign of Olivia. The circle room was clean. Fresh paint, hardwood, scrubbed, like it had never happened. It's been 2 years. I moved back to Eugene. I don't keep candles in the house anymore. I avoid mirrors after dark. I still have that burning feeling in my chest sometimes, brief, like a spark, but it fades. Darren and I don't talk much about it. I Googled Olivia. No records, no social media. I even asked the landlord. He claimed the apartment had been vacant for months before I moved in. But I remember her. Every night. Sometimes I dream of that room, of her voice whispering in a language I don't understand. And every time I wake up, I'm terrified to check the mirror, because someday I think I'll see her, standing behind me, smiling.